Feel free to join us on the camera if you can. I'm positive you look beautiful and your hair is great, so please feel free to join us and welcome to the session today. So we're going to spend a few minutes today talking about the Master of Science in HROD, Human Resources and Organization Development. We'll just spend a few minutes talking. You'll hear me kind of run through some of this, and then we'll have questions and answers at the end, and we'll be able to address many of the questions that you might have. So let me share my screen here and see if we can get rolling here. All right. Can everybody see the screen okay?
It looks great, Dr. Sheffield.
Fantastic. All right. So the biggest takeaway, right in the front, because I'm a simple-minded fellow, 10 classes to finish. We're a research level 1 institution, and we'll talk about that a little bit more as time goes on here. And it's a fully online program. All right. As you see, everybody, and I mention this in these when I do these every month, everybody has that place in their home where you're proud of what you've done and you've worked really hard for it, or maybe your children are, or your family. This is ours, and this gives you a good indication of the HROD program. We've been around almost for 40 years, 40. So we did not start this program because of COVID. We've been around a very long time. And we've really done an incredible job across the country pulling people in, and you'll see that here in just a little bit, in a few minutes too. The biggest takeaway from this slide I want you to take a look at is on the bottom row. The top row, very cool, right? We're recognized across the country, and there are many more awards that we have. These are just the ones we wanted to show you. On the bottom, as you can see, we are a connected member of the OD network, so the Organization Development Network, and we'll talk more about that in a minute as well. And we're very much connected to SHRM, which is in the bottom right-hand corner. SHRM is the Society for Human Resource Management, and our classes are governed not by SHRM, but with SHRM. So we don't follow SHRM, but we use some of the SHRM governance elements to fold into our classes to make sure that what you learn is something you can take away and actually apply in the real world. And most importantly, in the bottom in the middle, we are a military-friendly school. That means that by the way, HROD was started by a Department of Defense grant a very long time ago originally. So we have a tremendous amount of military environment in our space because we're a remote program and we're an incredibly good school. So you'll, again, hear more about that in a minute as well as we go through. All right, so what I'd like to do is show you a few examples of folks that we use to kind of show you, and there are hundreds of people in our program, hundreds. And every once in a while, we have a couple of students who kind of shine above. And when they shine, it's because they're able to just simply reach out to the professors, and they do a tremendous amount of work to stay connected. Tommy Fulp is one of those guys. I want you to read what he said here. This program forces you to look at HR from many different perspectives and really gives you the tools you need to gain a seat at any executive table. So a lot of our program, not all, but a lot of our program are mid-level to senior level people in their fields, a lot of them. We do have some entry-level folks who are trying to decide, hey, how do I want to take the next step in my career trajectory as I go forward? But Tommy's one of those folks who, just for the whole group of us, all the professors, really went above and beyond and did an incredible job just shining his light on the school, and just was an incredible representative of the school. Now, HROD is global. Our program is all over the world. We are pretty much in the United States, though. The reason we're across the world is because of our military men and women who happen to travel overseas. Now, you may be asking military men and women on the phone, well, what if I'm in another country and it's 12, 18 hours ahead? Do I have to show up for this class? Well, all of our courses are asynchronous, meaning you can choose to show up for these optional webinars or not. You don't have to. Now, there are occasionally times where we recommend that you do. So it would be worth your time to get up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning and join a call, especially if we've got a lecture going on that invites somebody in a class so that you can actually connect with that person. We have a tremendous amount of reach across the country, so a lot of our connections are people who run companies, and that's always a fantastic connection to have, especially if you're trying to decide, what am I going to do when I finish my service? What am I going to do? What's my next step? Connections are the way to make that happen. We are in 35 states across the country. So right now on the call, a lot of you are from different parts of the country, and many of you likely represent these 35 states. So that's real important for you to hear too. We cross all time zones. It's just an amazing program with a lot of reach. And our faculty are expert faculty. And what that means is not lightly given. If you watch TV today, you're going to probably hear or watch anything online, you're going to hear somebody call themselves an expert. Well, in the academic space, we actually are experts. We teach what we do, and we've done it a long time. So we actually write about and then practice what it is that we're teaching, depending on which field we particular, the faculty member happens to focus in. So we enjoy what we do, and as you can see, and we'll again ask questions in a few minutes here, but you'll be able to kind of tell, hey, these folks really do care about what they do. So I hope that comes across. Sally Daniels is another person. Sally is one of the, she recently graduated, actually. She just graduated. And I want you to read what she wrote here too. I enjoyed each class, but I was most enjoyed the community of learners and professors. HROD program to be online, our group was incredibly warm and supportive. It was always so great and unexpected. Now, make no mistake, there are occasionally groups that get together in a class where it's a little tough, right? Because a lot of our courses have group work in them, and some people like that, some people don't. It really depends on you, on what you appreciate. But just so you're aware, those group projects, they bring a tremendous amount of connection for you in the future, because a lot of the folks you tend to meet in a master's program are people that you'll know for the rest of your life. I still know folks from my master's program many years ago. I don't know why that is. It's just that this particular time of life, for most people in this level of education, you meet professional connections, and those professional connections are the ones that will help you. With your next job or a reference you might need. I get a lot of those calls still today and emails still today from students from many years ago and peers many years ago. So on the right-hand side, this is Dr. Sharon Carrick. She is actually a professor a faculty member in our department. Dr. Carrick's been around a long time with us. She's fantastic. She's rung the bell on Wall Street twice with two different companies that she owned one of them and another she led. So she's an incredible asset and just a brilliant, very, very kind, super cool human. So I wanted to introduce you as we go through this to some of the full-time professors who teach in the department. Going through these boxes here, a few things will help you. Number one, upper left-hand corner, we are set up for maximum flexibility for working adults. It means that most of us, as a matter of fact, now all of us we are practitioners. We have actually gone out and we do what we talk about. We do what we teach. And that's pretty cool because our whole program is built around your success. In the upper right-hand corner, our courses are all 8 weeks long. So a semester is equal to 16 weeks. A 16-week time frame. If you hear the word semester, it typically equals 16 weeks. And our courses are 8 weeks long. So you'll have one course for 8 weeks. That's one course. And then you'll take one more course for another 8 weeks. That's important because as you go through your program, that's the cadence and the pace that we ask you to take, because we've done this for years and we know there's a tremendous amount of work that goes on in your master's program. So this recipe happens to work. In the middle column on the left, our courses are asynchronous. Now, no one really follows. That's not a common word, right? So what does that mean? That means that our courses, they operate, you have work due every week, and that's not negotiable, right? That's things you have done every week and that are complete, must be turned in. However, you don't have to attend our webinar sessions. We call our Zoom sessions or our connections with our students where a professor will give a lecture. That's asynchronous. It means that we record it and we put it up there for you. Now, again, if you can make it, it makes the experience a little fuller because you're able to talk with the professors, you're able to ask questions of your peers, you can ask questions of the people around you. Asynchronous learning, we don't want you to feel alone. We want you to connect with us and ask questions and get to know people. So this is a big part of our program, and we push this very heavily because we want to connect with you. So while it is optional, it's also something that you're going to want to take advantage of because it makes the experience just a lot fuller and a lot richer. In the middle column on the right, our professors are called high touch, meaning that we're available. We spend, I think my response rate is usually several hours, and you're pretty good about responding. All of our professors operate that way. We're pretty much on top of the communications, and of course we're human and we make mistakes, but we really stay connected to all of our students very closely as you go through the program. Bottom left-hand corner, your class projects. Every class has what's called a HAT, an HAT. That stands for Hallmark Assessment Task. And that Hallmark Assessment Task is fancy for a big paper at the end. That's basically what it stands for. And what that big paper at the end of your class does is it pulls together all of the elements in the class that we wanted you to learn, and you pull them together in a paper. So that's something that's oftentimes completed with a group. Not always, though. Sometimes it's individual. It depends on the class. So that project that you work on in your course is actually a project that you typically can complete at your job. So you're helping your company to move forward, and you're helping them to identify problems or issues that they may have in their company, and you're actually acting as a consultant, which is very, very powerful, by the way, for your career. Bottom right-hand corner, our students tend to be, as I mentioned before, senior leaders in a variety of industries. A lot of our folks that go through our program are mid-level to senior level. Again, not all, but we have a lot of folks who are entering in and trying to figure out, hey, what do I want to make my career look like? And we help you make that decision as you go through it. This is Dr. Brad Shuck on the far right-hand side. I like to call Dr. Shuck our movie star. He is actually an incredibly astute researcher. Dr. Shuck he's everywhere. If you read anything about employee engagement, his name is going to come up. Dr. Shuck is a prolific researcher. He's written a ton, and he goes out of his way to work very hard about understanding what employees do and how they engage their employers. So that's an incredible body of research. If you look him up, you'll see him real fast. So Dr. Shuck, super nice guy, by the way, just the nicest guy. On the left-hand side, this is how our curriculum is built. So everybody in our program, you're going to take 6 core courses. So you're going to have 6 classes that everyone has to take. And you're going to add to those courses 4 elective classes. So you pick those 4 elective classes you choose. So your whole program is going to equal 10 classes. And that's how it's going to work at the end. And you get 30 credit hours total to graduate from the program. We recently just changed that. We're really, really proud of it. It was a tremendous amount of paperwork because, it's a college. Institutions are incredibly good at bureaucracy. So we had to go through a lot of paperwork, but it worked. And our program is now set so that you can have the maximum benefit of going through a very good school remotely and get a great education as you go through it. This is Dr. Linda Bird Pollard. I've known Dr. Linda for a very, very long time. She is absolutely brilliant, and she is as kind and as sweet as you see her on this page. Her research happens to revolve around organizational trauma. She writes about what companies go through when a traumatic event happens to the people in that company or the company itself. She actually also is an incredible researcher and just published a book on organizational trauma here very recently. Our core courses on the left-hand side, these are the ones I mentioned that everybody has to take. Everyone has to take these classes. So you're going to go through this. We ask of you one basic thing when you come into our program. One thing we ask of you as far as the kind of the pace and the cadence of the classes. We ask you to take Lead 617 first. That's the evidence-based research course because you go over some fundamentals like APA, some qualitative understanding, some quantitative understanding, not anything too deep, but you go over it to understand it. And then we ask you to take Lead 616 last, which is the integrative capstone course. That course pulls everything together in the program and lets you leave the program with applying. The very last class, you apply a lot of the skills that you learned along the journey. You apply them in that course and build out a cool project with it. So those are the only 2 classes that we ask you to follow a pattern with. The rest of the courses are up to you. You decide how those courses work. You decide your pace and your pace is, one class the 8 weeks and another class the next 8 weeks, but you decide the order in which you take them, other than Lead 617 and Lead 616. Now, this is a lot. So when you apply to the program, you'll get a sheet called a program sheet. And that program sheet will help you. You'll be able to walk through it and know exactly what I'm talking about right now. You'll be able to see it on your classes, and you can kind of check them off as you go through them and know that you took your 10 courses. This is Dr. Denise Cumberland. Dr. Cumberland has been at the university a long time. She's fantastic. She's also super cool. Her research lies around the entire space of franchises. So she has a tremendous body of work around the franchise space, and she's an incredible researcher in that particular part of business. And she actually teaches this. She's my OD partner in many ways. Dr. Cumberland and I happen to be in our team. We happen to be the OD people. The other staff faculty members tend to lean a little bit more toward human resources. Dr. Cumberland and I kind of stay in this OD space because we love the performance part of this, and we love that's what we do. So I've been a consultant forever, and that's what we enjoy. The elective courses that you see on the left are courses that you can pick from. So you can really kind of drive what you want your choices to be through the program. It depends on you and how you really build out your future. What do you want it to look like? You'll be assigned a faculty advisor. One of the faculty will be your advisor as you get into the program, should you choose to be here with us. And we will help guide you through this experience. So if you want to, let's say that you're talent management, we will help you, if you want to pick some classes along that pattern and say, hey, does this make sense? We'll talk to you about it. If you're unsure what you want to do when you finish, let's say your military service, or let's just say you're ready to do something new in your career, you may want to call us and talk about it because I've got gray hair. We've done quite a bit, right? We've got a lot of experience in this corporate space, and we can help guide you. So those discussions are ones that we always welcome, and we always want to talk about those topics to help you make a good decision as you go through. This was pretty cool. So every year, we didn't have it for 3 years over COVID, but for a long time, our program hosts, one professor will take a class of students, a group of students, somewhere across the world. And we'll go across the world. You'll pick this class. It's called Lead 624. And we pick a place. We design it as a faculty team, and we choose typically a conference in HROD somewhere across the world. Well, as you can see, this team just came back. They literally just came back in June. Dr. Linda Bird-Pollard is on the left with that looks like an LSU faculty member, and Dr. Valerie Ford, who's a partner faculty with us, an adjunct faculty member we call partner faculty. On the left-hand side, on the right-hand side on the far right, Dr. Valerie Ford went with Dr. Linda Bird-Pollard and made this trip. So you can see that this was an incredible experience. I will point out this is very cool. Demi, who I think her last name is Wharton. Demi, who's in the very center picture, she is an HROD student, and she presented at the National College of Ireland in Dublin, and presented her work at this conference, which was amazing. So you'll have this opportunity should you choose to do this. We're meeting as a faculty team here real soon to determine where we're going to go in 2024. We don't yet know. We've got to brainstorm about it and talk about it and figure out where that's going to be. But we are going to go somewhere cool when 2024 comes. Probably in the summertime to be able to make this trip. So just wanted to mention it to you. Should you choose to join us, this is one of the great opportunities that we have as a faculty team to go with you to do something cool across the world. This is me, and I don't have any good pictures, so I'm so sorry. That's it. You have to stare at my mug there, but that's pretty much it. This is around the admission and tuition part of this experience. So let me talk about me for a second. So Dr. Ron Sheffield, I'm the program director of the HROD program. I'm also a faculty member on the staff. I'm Native American. My tribe is in Southern California. We've been here in this country for a short 15 to 20,000 years, so there's not a lot of Native folks left. You might expect that my research tends to lie around Native America. I tend to do work in performance, to do research in performance around Native cultures and understanding identity formation. So that very easily translates over into business when you begin to understand the identity of a business. So that's my work and what I tend to do. More importantly, on the left-hand side, these are the admission requirements that you have. Should you choose to apply, you'll come in. There's a whole team of people who will help you complete this. It's usually not me. There's a team of people who this is their specialty. And when you click apply, they'll walk you through what has to happen. Let's say your GPA is a 2.4, and I'm making that up. It could be something less than 2.5. And let's say you're just unsure. Don't worry. If you want to be here with us, we want you to be here with us. So what will happen is that you'll apply. And if your GPA is not quite at that 2.5, you'll basically have a conversation with me. And we'll talk on the phone. I'll ask you some questions, and we'll just make sure that this is the right thing for you to do right now to go forward. So I ask you some questions to help you. A couple of letters of recommendation, a goal statement. We do not require a GRE because standardized tests have no significance. That's a statistical academic word. No significance on anyone's bearing to complete a graduate level degree of any kind anywhere. So, and this has been repeatedly shown through research. So we do not have any GRE requirements to come in here because they make no sense. Our current tuition on the left-hand side, as you can see, is set. I'll point out the fact that our military members are significantly less. We talk about this a lot as a faculty member. If it was up to the school, this would be zero for our military members. However, we got to have something to keep the lights on, right? So there's a little bit there, but it's our way of giving back and thanking our community. We do not have any out-of-state residency requirements, which is very cool. So you can complete this program entirely from the location that you are. You will not have to make any trips to the school if you don't want to. I would recommend one trip, though. That's the trip when you graduate. You do want to take a trip to the University of Louisville, walk across that stage. You want to show your family. You want to show the people that you love. That's a big, big, big deal. So, but you don't have to. We just recommend that you do. So please reach out to the Finance Center if you have any questions around the money part. And as you go through the application, folks, we do this all the time. We're happy to help you go through this. And these are the folks that are going to help you along this journey. Susan is wonderful. Susan's the third person from the left there. Susan is typically on these calls with me and helps to manage a lot of this. So pardon me if I'm clicking through here. She's usually the one who helps me. Sarah is the person when you apply to the program. Sarah is the one who will receive all of your data. She'll check it all off. And Dr. Pentecost, who's literally getting ready to retire like any second now, she's been with the school for a long time. And she has a replacement coming in that's just fantastic as well. And these are the folks that we take care of you as you move through the program. Each one of the professors, obviously, they're amazing, and you saw some of them as we went through here. So let me take this off a share, and then let's see if we can talk here. Hang on one second. All right, I talked there she is. Hey, Sarah. So I talked at about 1,000,000 miles an hour. So I hope this was helpful. Let me open this up to everybody who wants to ask questions. We welcome your questions. We also welcome you again showing your lovely mug on the camera if you want to. You don't have to, but if you want to, you're welcome to. And ask any questions that you may have. So let's stay here for a little while and see what you might have. What can we answer for you?
Hello, my name is Octavia. Can you hear me?
We got you.
Hi, I'm actually on the application process and I'm working on my the goal statement. And for the other two questions that we have to answer in the application process, do you guys care which ones we answer?
Sarah, I think that one's probably closer to you.
No, you can choose whichever one you feel you have a stronger response to.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Good question, Octavia. What else you got? Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm wondering, is there a time frame of which you have to complete the master's program?
I think the answer to that, and Sarah, you'll have to correct me too, but I think it's within 5 years of finishing, of taking it. I think that's the response. Am I off there?
Yeah, that's you want to complete it in that amount of time. This program in particular is a bit more flexible. So if it happens that, there's a semester where things are going to be crazy at work and you can only take one class, that's fine. And then if there are other semesters where, timing allows and you want to do 2 or 3 classes, that's up to you. You're going to want to pay close attention to your program sheet and work with your advisor to make sure that you're getting all the courses that you need. And then, we do, we're all adults, stuff happens. So if anything comes up where you need to kind of step out of the program and take a bit of a hiatus, just work with your advisor on that to make sure that all of the proper documentation is in place. And then I would work with you when you decide to return.
Okay, great. The other question I had is, I know you talked at the beginning about the different accolades and things that the program has received, but I'm curious, how would you state that your program differs from other masters in human resource management?
Oh, thanks, a great question, Abby. And I can answer you very simply. So we've been doing this a very long time. That's number one. And number two, we're a research level one institution. And that's going to always be the position that we're going to take as a scholar practitioners, right? We are scholars who practice our field. If you go out to Google, if you're not sure what a research level one institution is, that's okay, because most people don't if you're not in the academic space. Go to Google and type in research level one universities, and you will see a list. And that list you'll see with the University of Louisville on. Out of that list, there's only a couple of them that teach human resources and OD. And of those two, I'm pretty sure neither of those are remote or online. They're not. So that distinguishes us very easily from a lot of institutions. And we've done this for, again, I mentioned a long time. So whether you choose the University of Louisville or not, you have to make that decision. It's your choice. But that's typically what distinguishes us from most programs. We also practice what we do. A lot of programs across our country are oftentimes, if they're research level one universities, meaning they're heavy research schools, they have professors who haven't necessarily worked in the field, but they've gone straight through school. And that's not wrong. It's not bad. It's just different. So you have to pick the one that's best for you and which one fits. I hope that helps, Abby.
It does. Thank you.
You got it. Oh, a couple things while you're thinking through your questions that came up to my mind just to kind of help you. So graduate school is different than undergraduate school. And I mentioned this on purpose. And I know you're like going, duh, of course it is. Well, think about this. And I want to talk about it. Graduate school is reading and writing. You're going to read a lot. You're going to write a lot. Very different than undergraduate school. Undergraduate, you can typically wait until the night before your classes do all your work in a couple hours, and then show up the next day. Not always. But most of the time you can. You cannot do that with graduate school. You can't, because the assignments that we have require you to engage along the week. You have to think, you have to take time for yourself, and you have to, what we set this journey up for is for you to enjoy the journey, to try to come through it and to learn, versus speeding through it, which is what most people tend to focus on in their undergrad, right? You just get to that spot. In a graduate program, especially at a research level one school, we take a tremendous amount of energy as a faculty team to teach you how to do research. This is what we're teaching you. We're teaching you that we want you to understand that when you go out into the world, that your words matter, that they count, that what you say to other people has evidence behind it, that when people ask you a question, you can go and find that evidence in the library system. You can pull it up real fast and say, look, there's 4 or 5 journal articles, and this is, pardon me, this is the tone of what they said. Here's the theme of what they've pulled together. That's research-based responses, right? So we teach you that as you go through the program, and you pick that up as you move through it. So that's very important. Non-research level one in universities, that's not always their focus. Now, where you go to school is your call, and I want you to pick one. I want you to pick a great school to go to, wherever that may be, and you choose what that is. But when you finish a research level one college degree, when you finish that with the program, you've walked out of that program at the top of the food chain. Academics operate off of that R1, R2, R3 environment, and that's because we take a tremendous amount of pride personally as faculty members being able to teach at a research level one school. So it's very important to us, and we help you figure that out. We help you learn it. But so I just wanted to add a little bit more to it. So a lot of reading, a lot of writing, very few tests. Very few tests. Why is that? Because your short-term memory is not what's important to us. What's important to us is your ability to critically think. That's what's important to us. So just so you know, critical thought emerges through reading and writing. It does not emerge through test taking. It does not. So a whole lot of our program, and there's a tremendous amount of people out there who will go, well, Dr. Sheffield, I don't agree with you. That's cool. That's not. This is our social science program, and we operate this way because it works with us. And our faculty, we fully support the words that I just mentioned to you. So I hope that helps you too as you continue to try to make a good choice here. Other questions? Let me open it back up and quit talking. Other questions, please.
Hello. I have a quick question. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I pressed the wrong button. So I'm enrolled and I'm just going to take my first class. It's the 617 research class. Miss Bird told me all about it. And I'm pretty excited about it. I'm starting it up and I'm wondering, so I'm doing, I have military TA and I need to submit that. So, is there a contact that I talk to and send that to every time? I'm not really sure how that process works. Um, I've emailed out to the financial office and trying to get some contact with them. Um, and then my, and then I have two other questions. Picking the path, you said that so we can take electives. When should we call and talk about that? Because right now, I don't even know. I know I want to do human resources, but I don't know which path I want to take. And then is there a contact page for everybody that we can talk to? I know there's stuff online, but it's still, I don't know, I still kind of feel like there's a barrier.
Okay, so I'm a guy, Ashley, and I'm slow. So I'm going to try to go back to your first question. Okay, so tuition assistance for the military. Sarah, who's our contact? Do you know for the military? Because I know that we have one. I just don't know the name off the top of my head. Do you know?
We do have one. I will get her contact information, and Ashley, I will actually email it to you just so that you have everything kind of all together. I've got an email to you drafted up, and I will send that to you so you have her contact info.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Perfect. Second question was, the direction, right? So the direction you take is an advisor conversation. So if Dr. Linda is your advisor, you're going to want to talk to Dr. Linda about that. She can guide you. That's her role as an advisor to help advise you on, how you might pick the classes that you pick and choose to go through. So that's between you and your advisor, how you do that. And then number three, there's not one comprehensive sheet because you have all of us during this journey. You're going to run across all of us at some point during this journey, depending on the classes that you pick. So it really depends on what you're looking for. And once you get into the program, I'd also welcome you reach back out to your advisor because again, that's Dr. Linda's role is to help you when you need some of these answers or questions and to guide you because she can actually say, if you want to talk about a particular field, she can guide you likely to one of us. It could, depending on what your question is, she may send you to Dr. Carrick or she may send you to me. It just depends on what your question is at the time. So the last two questions of the three that you had are best worked on with your advisor. That's going to be the best choice. That's the wisest direction to go and the easiest direction too.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. What other questions we got? How did Sarah become so wonderful? I don't know. It just happened before she showed up. That's a great question. I could pontificate about that one for a couple hours. That was a good one, Sarah. What else we got?
I hate to hog the mic, but I do have another question
Go for it.
regarding time commitment. So, as obviously working full time, I have a family. I'm curious if you could give an estimate of how much time per week we might be dedicating, to the reading, to the writing, and the classes.
Yeah, that's a great question, Abby. And it, of course, depends, right? It depends on how quickly you read, how quickly you consume data. All of that stuff is all unknown to anybody outside of your home, right? Just really depends on you. But typically, what we ask people to set aside is about an hour every other night, maybe 2 hours every other night. It's kind of a good one. So about 4 to 5 hours a week of reading and writing is what you can depend on. Now, that also depends on you, right? So if you write faster, some people are able to do this with just speed and accuracy. I, by the way, am not and never have been, so I'll tend to be slower at it. But when my brain is focused and my doors are closed and my phone is off, then I'm focused, right? I can get this done. You just reminded me of my phone to turn my ringer off. So I just want to that's kind of normal. So you're looking at about 5 hours a week on average to do the reading and the writing. One of the things that's real important to Abby to know is that your master's degree and that time in this space is for most people, they fit exactly what you just said, Abby. Not all, but a lot of people fit in the category of having a family, having a full-time job, having other obligations that they have to do every week. So this is normal and typical. It's not abnormal at all. And it's a personal choice. You pick, right? You choose I've said this for many years, talking to my daughters. I learned early on that you choose what's important to you and you make time for it. That's your choice. That's our choice, right? Do we pick that, whatever that is? So if taking your master's is the right thing for you now and you want to do it, then you have to set aside some time to focus on you. It gives you time back for you. You tell your family, hey, put your children to sleep, right? Tell your significant other, hey, I love you, but I'm going to go hang out and read and study for a while. Close the door, take this phone thing and leave it outside. Don't let anybody text you. Don't let anybody bother you, and just leave it away so that your brain can focus on reading and writing. And that tends to work, Abby, for us very, very, very well. We've done this a lot, and we know the recipe that helps people get through the program. And the recipe is to give you roughly that about 5 hours a week time frame to get your studying done. Did that help, Abby?
Yeah, that's super helpful and surprisingly less time than I was expecting. So I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it's about focus now, right? So, Abby, so if your 5 hours are I'm on the phone and I'm typing to somebody else on another computer, if that's your 5 hours, it's going to be 10 to 15, right? But if your 5 hours is focused time, it's actually very, very doable and accomplishable. Great question. All right, what else we got out there?
I had a quick question. I wanted to know, well, I actually probably had two. One, I wanted to know what was how can I say this? How many are accepted into the program? Is there like a limit? Is this very competitive in a sense? Only because when I look at the application, it's very different from your undergrad application where you have to do a lot of writing and, things that make you overthink. So I was just wondering, is this a very competitive program to get into, or, can you just kind of focus more on the realism of the questions that are being asked? But also, what is for the fall semester, for like the first term, what is the deadline to submit your application?
Deadline first. Sarah, do you know the deadline date? I don't know the deadline date.
So we'll accept applications and application items, close to the semester start, but that tighter timeline can be very stressful for you and for me. So I would recommend that you try and get your application and most of your application items in by August 1st, just to allow time for review and processing through the system and registration and all of those pieces. If there's anything that's delaying you from hitting that August 1st point, just be sure and communicate with me, and I can try and help you through that with the tighter timeline.
Excellent. Thank you, Sarah. Your first question. So how rigorous is no, that's not your question. I guess your question was around the stringency of getting in the program. I'd say we're probably medium. We're about medium overall. I don't know the exact number, and Sarah, you might know this, pardon me, but I don't know the exact number. But what we tend to do is we lean heavily, Allison, on your undergrad experience and where you are in life. We lean heavily there because those two things, those two things are research-based, evidence-based success patterns. They are those two things. It's your getting through an undergrad program, number one, and that school that you went through, right? Getting through that program. And then what you write to us, we read. And I know a lot of folks, because I know I used to think this when I was going through all of my education. I used to think as I'm writing this that nobody's reading this. I literally used to think this, nobody's reading this. I could put anything I want in here. I would write, Sarah has a red shirt on in the middle of the thing, and nobody would have any other. But that's actually not true. We actually do read what you write. So we take the combination of those two things, and we rely very heavily on that. So I don't know the acceptance rate number, but I know that we're in the middle of that package pretty well for when compared to most schools. We're kind of right in the middle, and we tend to be very careful, right? We bring great people in. We want people who use the words you just used, Allison. You saw me grinning about the words you were using, because trust me, we all have the same experience there. All of us have gone through, in our program right now, every faculty member who's full-time on our faculty member, guess what? We all worked full-time with a family and all other stuff going through our education. All of us did. All of us. So what that means is that when we talk to you, we know what we're talking about. We all do. So when we go through it, we're like, oh, yeah, I get it, man. I did those 3 o'clock in the morning papers. Guess what? Allison, you're going to be writing those 3 o'clock in the morning papers because we did it already. We did it. We want you to take your time, carve out some time for your week and be able to get that done. But Allison, I hope I answered your question. I know it wasn't specific because I don't know the exact number, but I hope that helps.
It does. Thank you.
You got it. You got it. All right. About 5 more minutes left, guys. Other questions?
I just have a quick question about the time span of complete the program, because I heard someone mention 5 year time, like that you guys give. Is it about 2 years, 2.5?
It's about 2 years, Octavia. That's kind of normal. Most
Okay.
folks in our, that's a great question. Most folks in our program go through in a little less than a year, year and a half, right around that year and a half mark to 2 years. Sometime in that time frame, people tend to finish. It really
Okay.
depends on your schedule and what you're doing in life. So, for example, when
I really don't have many obligations, so I don't have a
excellent.
family. I just work full time.
Excellent. So
So
you can take a little more. Yeah, exactly. That's
yeah.
just what I was going to say. Some folks have a little more time, and when you've got a little more time, it's not quite as, people aren't pulling on your time so hard, right? You can focus a little bit more. So it really depends on you, and that's kind
Okay.
of a norm. Is that year and a half to 2 years is very normal.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
You got it. Great question. Anybody else? Thoughts, ideas?
Really, really quick question. You mentioned trying to get applications in by August 1st. How many application windows do you all have throughout the year?
I think there's 5, right, Sarah?
Yes, there are 5. So that would be for the fall 1 start. If you look at the fall 2 start, I'd go back and check, but I believe it is sometime in September because we'd want to get you in kind of in that October point. But because there's so many, potential start dates, I will usually reach out to folks that are applied and haven't completed their application in time to start in their desired start date and say, hey, should we move it forward? So you don't have to start the process over. So, if you're in that group where you weren't able to complete your application on time, just reach out to me and I'll work with you to move it forward.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Excellent. Great question, James. Oh, by the way, what Sarah means when she says fall 1 and fall 2, let's talk about that because I just heard her say it. It dawned on me. She and I might be the only two who knows what that means. So let me share with you what that means. Remember, I mentioned that we have 8-week classes. So the first 8 weeks of the semester of a 16-week semester, the first 8 weeks, that's called fall 1 or spring 1, right there. The second 8-week time frame is called fall 2 or spring 2. So just so you know, that's what that means. It just dawned on me when Sarah said it. So thank you for prompting that, Jane. Somebody else, other questions? What can I help with?
I have one. It's not a question. I just want to share. This is the third organization that I've talked to because I agree with you earlier about choosing the right place. And I just really wanted to give kudos to you, Ron and Sarah. This was the most informative and conversational that I've experienced. No, I'm very serious.
Yes, it has. I want to chime in on that. It really is. I have the same issue with Indiana Wesleyan with trying to figure out which program was the best, and this one is really on top. So yeah, kudos, like he said.
Thank you, Doc Octavia. Thank you so much. You see me patting myself, right? It's got nothing to do with me. I'm doing this, but it has nothing to do with me. It's the craziest thing. Really, what this is about is a whole team of people. You only see me running my mouth, but trust me when I tell you, there's a whole lot of folks behind the scenes making this work, and we know what we're doing, and we care about you. That's the takeaway, and that's the thing that I want you to know as a program. Is if you're listening to me at all, please hear these words. The University of Louisville cares about you, and we want you to be here. We welcome you here. These are not words that people say. You ever gone on a job interview? I want you to do this. Okay, so I got gray hair. I can say this. When you go on your next job interview, I want you to say these words. Somebody's going to say, Doc, do you have a question for me? And I want you to say these words. You know, I appreciate that. I do. And here's my statement. I can do this job, and I can do it better than everybody else. When is the last time you interviewed somebody who said that to you? The answer is probably never. But that's the most simple, direct thing that most human beings can say in a job interview to let a hiring manager, and I've hired a lot of people, know I can do this job and I can do it better than everybody else you're going to talk to. I know that sounds simple, but simple is what creates a mastery of the world. It's what creates simplicity. It was Maya Angelou said this, and I can't remember her exact words, but she talks about the simplicity of the world. And the simplicity of the world is what creates an expert. It's simplifying a complex topic. So that's what we take a tremendous amount of work in and pride in, because we want you to walk away with this experience, with any of us, learning something cool. Not always. You might take a class and go, this guy's on my last nerve. I can't do this. But you may take a class and go, this guy's not so bad. I can learn something because he's open to helping me learn. So I hope that helps. I appreciate the words, Doc, Octavia. Thank you so much. Other questions? So we got 1 minute here, and I'm going to wrap us up, guys. 1 more minute. Questions, comments from anybody? Sarah, my notes from Doc's words were just simply that we rock. That's all I'm going to write down, just so you know. That's what Doc and Octavia said, that we rock. That's all I'm going to take away from this. So that's very cool. All
I
right.
heard that too.
You heard that too?
Yeah.
All right, last question. Last time, guys, I promise you. Last one. Any other questions we can help with? Anything at all? We want you to go to grad school. We want you to pick a good school. Whether it's here or not, it's your call, but we want you to pick a great one. So last time for questions. Fantastic. Have a wonderful week, guys. Thank you so much. It was good talking with you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you all.